Welcome to the City of Bakersfield Planning Commission meeting. This television broadcast is made available through cooperation with the local cable companies, the County of Kern, and the City of Bakersfield. The Planning Commission meets on the first and third Thursdays of each month. You can watch the rebroadcast of this meeting Saturday at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 10 a.m. The planning meeting agenda is posted on the city's website at www.bakersfieldcity.us. Presiding over today's meeting, Chair Larry Coman.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to call to order the July 16th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Coman.
Here.
Commissioner Rednick.
Here.
Commissioner Bell.
Here.
Commissioner Bowers.
Here.
Commissioner Cater.
Here.
Commissioner Lomas.
Here.
Commissioner Wade.
Thank you. On March 4th, Governor Newsom declared a state of emergency in California due to the threat of COVID-19. The governor also passed several executive orders related to social distancing, shelter-at-home practices, and more. These orders also included the suspension of some components of the Brown Act related to public meetings like this one. As such, Commissioner Bowers is participating by phone, and he's here on the Zoom system. And all Planning Commission votes tonight will be conducted by roll call. At this time, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you for attending tonight's Planning Commission meeting. The Commission provides an opportunity for public participation in the development process throughout the city of Bakersfield. The Planning Commission considers a wide variety of projects, including subdivision maps, zone changes, general plan amendments, and more. When applications are received, the City Planning Division analyzes the request. Planning staff will present the facts about the project along with their recommendations to the Planning Commission, who will approve the item or make it a recommendation as appropriate. Our goal is to carefully consider each project and make a decision that will balance individual rights with public welfare and the general well-being of the community. We will now receive public statements. This is the time reserved for anyone wishing to address the Commission on any matter not on the public hearings portion of the agenda. If you are here on items 5A through 5D, this is not the time to speak. Does anyone in the audience wish to address the Commission? If so, please come forward and state your name. We will now move on to the consent calendar non-public hearing items. These agenda items typically involve housekeeping or administrative matters that do not require a public hearing. Does any commissioner wish to remove a consent calendar non-public hearing item for separate consideration? Then may I have a motion to adopt staff's recommendation on the consent calendar non-public hearing items.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
That was Commissioner Cater and Commissioner Bell. Madam Clerk, please conduct a roll call vote.
Commissioner Coman.
Yes.
Commissioner Rednick.
Yes.
Commissioner Bell.
Yes.
Commissioner Bowers.
Yes.
Commissioner Cater.
Yes.
Commissioner Lomas.
Yes.
Are we ready to move on here? Okay. The motion passed.
Motion
Thank
passes.
you. All right. We will now move on to consent calendar public hearing items. The next agenda section includes public hearing items that are considered routine or non-controversial. These items have been reviewed by staff and are conditioned in accordance with the requirements of the municipal code. The planning director will read the items on the consent calendar to ensure that the public has an understanding of the items to be considered. If you would like to speak on an item, please come forward after the items are read and ask that the item be removed for discussion. If the item is not removed by a member of the public or a commissioner, the commission will vote on all items in one motion without further comment. And Director Johnson, would you like to read the items, please?
Thank you, Chair Coleman. Good evening, Commissioners, members of the audience. Thank you for attending tonight. There are 4 items on the consent agenda as displayed on the screens. The first item is vesting tentative tract map 7334 to subdivide approximately 20 acres into 66 multifamily residential lots located at the northeast corner of Panama Lane and South Allen Road. There was a memorandum prepared for this project that was provided to your commission. Therefore, staff's recommendation is to approve the project with incorporation of the Public Works Department memo dated July 16th. Item 5B is vesting tentative tract map 7355 to subdivide approximately 56 acres into 154 single-family lots. This map is located at the southwest corner of Ming Avenue and Highgate Park Boulevard in West Ming Specific Plan area. As with the previous project, there was a memorandum prepared for this also, and it was provided to your commission. Therefore, staff's recommendation is to approve the project with incorporation of the Planning Division memorandum dated July 16th. The next item is zone change number 20-0062 with the request for a zone change from C1 neighborhood commercial to C2 regional commercial or a more restrictive district. This is on approximately half acres located at 4040 Ming Avenue. Again, there was a memorandum prepared for this project that was provided to your commission. Therefore, staff's recommendation is to approve the project with incorporation of the Planning Division memorandum dated July 16th. The last item on the consent agenda are text amendments to the Bakersfield Municipal Code by amending and repealing various sections related to dissolving the Board of Zoning Adjustment and assigning its responsibilities to the Planning Commission and the Planning Director, and staff recommends approval. This concludes reading of the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. At this time, I will open all of the consent calendar public hearing items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on a consent calendar public hearing item? Again, this is not the time to take testimony. Does any commissioner wish to remove a consent calendar public hearing item for discussion? All right. At this time, the public hearings on all consent calendar and public hearing items not removed are now closed. May I get a motion to adopt staff's recommendation on the consent calendar, public hearing items not removed? So basically, can I get a recommendation?
All of them. And
All of them, thank you.
I'll make that motion.
That'll be Commissioner Lomas.
I'll second.
Okay, sorry. Too fast for me, great, okay. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Rudnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cater,
Yes.
Commissioner Lomas.
Yes.
Motion passes with Commissioner Wade absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let me see, we're moving on here to item 6. Mr. Johnston, can you read the number 6 items here?
Yes, thanks, Chair Coleman. We have spoken with the item for item, or the representatives for item 6A and site 6B, and we are going to take these out of order, so we're going to hear item 6B first. This is a resolution for a comprehensive update to the Bakersfield General Plan as outlined in the General Plan Strategy and Options Report. At the previous Planning Commission meeting, the Development Services Director, Chris Boyle, provided a workshop on the General Plan. This was a precursor for a full presentation by the city's consultant, Rincon Consultants Incorporated. Before turning it over to Eric Von Berg, I would like to remind you that this existing general plan is a joint document with the County of Kern, and it is 18 years old. On October 16, 2019, the Planning Division released a request for proposal, or RFP, for the preparation of comprehensive analysis and recommendations for options in pursuing an update. The RFP closed on November 15, 2019, and the City Council approved a contract with Rincon at its January 22, 2020 meeting. Staff will offer some closing comments, but right now I'd like to turn it over to Eric, who will provide the presentation on the general plan update and strategies options report.
Thank you, Paul. Again, Eric Bomberg with Rincon Consultants, and I also have Brenna Weatherby on the Zoom call to help answer any questions. She was the main author of this report. So what we were tasked to do with the Bakersfield General Plan was to take a look at this report to see what the adequacy of this report and what would be the best process to move forward for updating this report. So we, as we said here, we reviewed the general plan, assessed its completeness and competency to continue on as your general plan, and then prepared a summary report with our findings on that. That there was 3 options that were studied to do a focused update, which would basically just get your general plan into legal conformance with the changes in state laws that have occurred. A policy update where we would maybe just focus on a few key policies, maybe the land use, and update it in that way, but it wouldn't be a full update of the general plan. And then a comprehensive update where we would relook at the whole general plan, utilize community input, and complete a whole new project. And based on our analysis, our recommendation is to do that comprehensive update. This would provide an opportunity to really engage the community, get a new vision for Bakersfield, the fact that you have a current general plan that's connected with Kern County, and Kern County is updating their general plan as well. It just seems like the best opportunity and the best chance right now to do a full, complete update. So how do we get there? We first did an assessment of your general plan, and you see there was these 3 elements that we keyed in on. Some of the things, like there's just not a unified vision, and there's not the guiding principles that are there that, especially with the changes that have occurred since 2002. The fact, again, that it's a joint plan with Kern County. There's numerous, we have an appendices of all the state legal regulations that have occurred, plus including there was an update to the general plan guidelines by the state in 2016. So there's a lot of things that need to be updated in your general plan. Plus, you're losing out on your CEQA streamlining opportunities now with the outdated EIR for the plan. So this chart here, it's a little hard to read on the screen, but looking at those 11 elements there, and then which each of those options would occur. And as you can see here, the comprehensive update updates all 11 of those, where the policy update is 6, and then versus 2 with the minor one. Diving in a little deeper into our report, 2 of the items that we think are key here, the fact, again, that joint planning document, and then looking at the goals and policies contained in the general plan no longer fit Bakersfield, mainly because of a lot of things have happened in Bakersfield, plus a lot of things have happened in the world and in regulations. So like right now, one of the things we heard from staff was that county can approve projects within your sphere of influence that aren't up to city standards. So then when they do get annexed to the city, that becomes an issue of not being, street widths are different, or the building designs, building setbacks are different. So then it just creates more problems than moving forward as you're trying to build out the city there. And there's not a way, right now, there's not a process where the city gets to have an influence in those projects when they occur right now. And since it's this joint plan, there's not a prioritization on Bakersfield and what its goals and policies are. So that's why we're thinking with the comprehensive update, you see, we can develop a process for an MOU or something with the city and the county so that you can address those issues up front before things get in the ground there, and really create a vision for Bakersfield where you can bring in community input as well. This slide here shows you some of the regulations that have now occurred since your general plan was adopted and updated. One of the key issues like here is environmental justice. It's an issue that now has to be in your general plan. Air quality is another one because you're in the San Joaquin Valley. You have to have that in your plan as well, an air quality element. And then some of these other ones like vehicle miles traveled is a new CEQA regulation going from where it's looking at how many miles you travel on a project versus how many, what your congestion is going to occur from that project there. And one of the keys in updating your general plan to these new regulations, then there's a lot of grant opportunities and other things that can occur with your general plan being up to date with these new regulations. So it creates a real benefit and synergy in your general plan. And some of the general recommendations here, to update your general plan, get new data in there that's current to today's standards. There's a lot we can do now with general plans as far as the graphics, making it, one of the issues going to occur with the city of Bakersfield is there's ADA requirements now for documents when they're on the web, as far as accessibility to the blind and other people that difficulty reading documents. So a full new update to the general plan will allow you to be in conformity with that regulation there, and as well allow for searching for things, and just there's a whole lot more tools involved that we can do with a full update on there. And then especially also with the legislative compliance, which is going to be critical. So again, looking at these general recommendations for your general plan, again, the comprehensive update will address all of these issues where the other ones will not. And here it's showing here, like with your vision and guiding principles here of Bakersfield, the sound of something better. We can capitalize on that to get that input and then develop goals and policies in your general plan that suit your, the sound of something better in Bakersfield. Develop community identity. There's different areas of the city that we might be able to make community plans for, or identities for those and gateways so that people can have a sense of place within their communities. And that's something we can reach out to the community on. On the right side of the screen there is showing you just sort of kind of one of the processes we can do as far as updating the general plan to make so the goals and policies are very clear in how they work through your document there. And there can be icons, so if you don't necessarily have to have an environmental justice element, but you have policies that are related to environmental justice, so you mark those within your general plan to identify those. And then here are our recommendations on some of the individual elements. There's mandatory elements that are listed here, such as land use and circulation. One of the things with your circulation element, you have the Thomas Roads Improvement Program, and a lot of those projects have been done or were not in the original general plan. So we want to update that, get all that information in there. We can then get that VMT analysis in there so that we can have a more streamlined process for projects moving forward that are consistent with the general plan. And then in creating that streamlining process, then there's this benefit to projects to be consistent with your general plan, because then they can have a streamlined CEQA and other development process, versus if they don't develop to the general plan, then they're going to have to do a general plan amendment or other processes there. So then it can really help people focus and stay with the plan. And then listed here are some of the other new general plan elements that have been, sort of the new things that we've seen there, such as an urban design element. We could do something focusing on your downtown, getting that into the general plan. Historic preservation. These are some of these ideas. Again, the area or community plans that we can maybe identify in the general plan update. areas for those, and then as a next step, maybe do the community plans, would be my recommendation. With that, that ends my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any commissioners like to speak?
Thank you. Great overview.
Commissioner Bowers, can you repeat yourself, please?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just said great overview. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Bowers. Commissioner Lomas.
You touched upon the relationship between the general plan for Bakersfield and for the county, but I'm a little confused. The county has stated in the staff report they've already started updating their general plan, so how are we going to integrate?
It's less integrating, it's that creating your own separate document. So the current general plan now encompasses this whole area that includes county lands that are in the county, unincorporated lands, and then within the city of Bakersfield. And so what we would do is that this plan would sort of take away that element, so there's not a Kern County portion in your general plan. So it's just addressing how the city of Bakersfield wants to develop within their city limits and then within that sphere of influence. And it could also be a chance to revisit that sphere of influence as well with the county. And then develop within that plan for Bakersfield, you can work with developing policies to how to develop lands in Kern County adjacent or near city limits that will be annexed into the city so that they get developed to city standards. That would be the goal anyway.
Okay, and I'm sorry, talk to me like I'm a kindergartner. I'm not understanding because there's so many examples throughout the city where it isn't the same standard. And so how do we deal with that?
So you would develop policies in this new general plan that would say projects. As an example, I worked for the County of Fresno for years, and we had what was called an MOU between the City of Fresno and the County of Fresno. So there was this Fresno city limits, and then within the sphere of influence, there was policies. So any development that was within a quarter mile of the city limits that was still in the county had to build anything they built would have to be built to city standards.
Okay, got it. So
And then-
that is going to be.
That's something we can develop in this new general plan. And then, and then it had like different tiers. So then it was quarter mile to a half a mile. Those projects, the Board of Supervisors or the City Council would have an opportunity to review any plans that were in there. And then within a quarter mile, then there was like another boundary behind that. And it was just an opportunity for county residents to speak to the board about a project if they wanted it. But there was no actual legal authority on that end. But it's some kind of process like that we could develop, and it would have to be negotiated, of course.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Commissioner Rudnick.
Thank you. Excuse me, you used a term called environmental justice.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that term. Can you explain how that ties?
Yeah, so what that term, its origins were about 1994, I believe it was, when the federal government, there was an executive order for environmental justice. The premise behind environmental justice is that any project, when it gets developed, the cases like when you have a landfill, and in past histories there was the landfill, there's a perfect location here, but it's next to an affluent community. We know they're going to complain. Let's move it over here. That happens to impact a lower income community, but they're not going to complain, so let's build it over there. And they, historically don't voice their opinion for whatever reasons there are, or don't feel like they can. So environmental justice basically adds this extra element to make sure those communities on any public works project or any project that they're getting the same benefit to the project and equal benefit and equal impact on that project versus any other part of the community. So and now it's made its way into the California state law as well. And so it's a new thing that has to occur. And we recently completed the Kerman General Plan, one of the smaller cities in Fresno County. And even going through and having all those environmental justice rules, we still had the Attorney General's office come down on us because of areas adjacent to farmlands that we weren't necessarily protecting them enough, they thought. So we had to develop some more policies in the general plan to really address development occurring adjacent to agricultural areas and that potential impact there. So that's in a nutshell what environmental justice is.
And I have a question for staff. Getting back to the MOU and et cetera, is there any kind of enforceability between the city and the county on these county pockets? And this may not be for you, sir, but for staff. How does that work? Do we have anything currently? Is it just all negotiated parcel by parcel? I mean, can you kind of give me what we're doing or what we've done or anything along those lines?
Commissioner Rudnick, when you say county pockets, are you talking certain areas of the city where there are little pockets of the county?
Yeah, in other words, part of our new plan is that we want those developed to city standards versus county standards, so when they're eventually incorporated 10, 20 years in the future, there's not a dramatic change. Do we have any kind of, I know there's always been little conflict between the city and the county, but I'm just curious, have things gotten better, or is there anything, I don't know, I just want some more knowledge.
No, absolutely, that's a great question, because we are right now, there are 10 specific pockets that we are proceeding with annexation. We've coordinated with the owners in the past. We are actually actively updating those letters. We're going to be sending letters out to get those pockets into the city, because there is issues with emergency responses compared to, let's just say, the Kern County Sheriff versus BPD. There's a reciprocal with the fire department, but we're trying to get the pockets into the city through annexations. And again, I think that'll be sooner rather than later.
Well, I can understand with individual property owners, but is there anything that we have with county planning that, we're allowed to jump in there and say, hey, can you do it this way, or not? I'm assuming not.
Typically what it is if the county is going to, if they have a project that's on the outskirts of the county, as a courtesy, they notify the city planning department. We do look at those, and we make a determination whether or not we should comment, whether that could be, look, you're right on the outskirts of the city. The city requests wider roads at this point in time. But again, there's no agreement that they have to abide by our comments.
Right.
It's just recommendations.
There's no enforceable.
And again, with the MOU, that would be something that could be more enforceable.
So we're going to have a plan, the county's going to have a plan, and then we get together and we try and work out common ground on these issues. Is that kind of what's going to happen?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Bell.
Well, I'm going to stay, thank you. I'm going to stay on this same line, if I may, staff, and for you as well. I'm assuming, that's a bad thing to do, that when we went forward with a county and city joint effort some years ago, that the main point was, or let's just say what I've been told through, seems like 1,000 different meetings, was the benefit was for annexation. It was to build a common ground there, and that road was to be made easier. What is your opinion about us doing it? I mean, it's too late now to change these rules. County's moved ahead. But can we build into this effort a manner by which we really can effort that? I mean, there literally are, like you said, Director, there are pockets that I'm assuming only the residents of those areas can stop annexation, and I guess could vote that away, but there's a lot of areas that could really, really benefit from finishing the good effort. A lot of pockets here that I'd love to see us close up and get these neighborhoods in the city and on and on. I think that's a little long-winded there, but my apologies.
If I understand correctly, I will say on these annexations, there is, for the most part, I'll say more of a benefit to be within the city. If you're in a pocket of the county, there's more of a benefit, and we can prove that when we have neighborhood meetings. It's not something that we just go out and say, you're in the city now. We work with them. We let them know that there is some legal non-conforming uses that may be applicable. So if they're in the county right now and they have animals, let's just say horses, they can maintain that when they come into the city, even though the city may not allow that in that zone. It's a legal non-conforming use. So there are benefits that a lot of these pockets will see by coming into the city.
And I think there's the benefit of, let's say, a subdivision that's a mile or so away from the current city boundary, and that if it's built in the county but built to city standards, then as the city grows out into that, then it just can become incorporated into the city without it, the lines being off or the roads off, or, and trouble hooking up to sewer systems or things like that. So it creates, a smoother approach further down the road.
And a good example of that is when you drive down Taft Highway, you'll see where it's wide, and then it narrows, and then it widens, and then it narrows. You can see where the city-county areas are there.
Commissioner Cater.
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. And then also a quick question on process for a comprehensive plan update. Just what the process looks like for how the community identifies what we see as the core elements, or some of these added elements that are not necessarily minimum, but could be a benefit to our community. Is it a public process, or how does that get determined?
Yes, it's a very public process. So, it can be a 2 to 5 year process. In some communities even longer if it gets into politics and other things. But anyway, you hope to have, let's say about a 2-year process where the first year of it is pretty much community outreach, identifying those in the community that you want to reach out to, make sure you're reaching out to everyone in those communities. You can have things of having public workshops, similar to what you did for the Bakersfield Vision Plan. You can do pop-up events. Right now we're doing virtual events. I'm holding a virtual meeting on Monday evening for a corridor project. But we could still even utilize those virtual meetings moving forward, because people are busy, and it's, so your kids can be yelling in the background. You can still be at home watching them and still join in on those meetings there. But yeah, so there's at least a year process of getting that community input. Developing a draft plan, submitting that draft plan for public comments on that plan, revising that, and then once we have that set plan, then you're talking, at least 6 months to a year for the CEQA process as well, which would involve public input on that and making sure everything is done, is being covered and done properly. So yeah, that's kind of the way the process would work.
Thank you. So you could anticipate it's a 2-year optimistic, 5-year
Yeah.
not as optimistic timeline for an updated.
Yeah, and then sometimes projects, they'll, to make it through several budget cycles as well to help fund the project, because they're not cheap as well. So it can be, to start at halfway through a year, and so then you can catch it into the next budget year and utilize, 2 to 3 budgets as well to help pay for it.
Definitely. And then you touched on CEQA, streamlining of CEQA through kind of a clearer vision from the city. Can you state an example of what that looks like? Because I feel like a lot of times we see projects and we're relating to a document that's from 2002. So we have this tension of what an applicant or what a community member is asking for isn't what's in our plan, and it's this kind of gray unknown. Can you just explain what that would look like?
Yeah, so the way it would work with the CEQA process, that you would update this general plan, and then there would be what they call programmatic EIR that covers this whole area. So we're not looking specifically at projects, but what it can do is say, you can even include within that plan people that have projects they want to do. So you include that in the plan as here's a future project within there. So when that project does come in, it comes in and says, look, we're consistent with this general plan, so therefore we're consistent with everything that's been addressed in the CEQA for the general plan. So therefore you can just do what's called an addendum to the EIR, which doesn't even involve public review process. It's a very simplified process to get through there, or that you don't need any kind of discretionary approval on the project. You only need to go in for your building permits. So therefore it doesn't even trigger CEQA at that point because it's consistent with the general plan. So it can affect specific projects to then not even have to do CEQA, or to do a quicker process through CEQA that wouldn't involve, that, you know, can in instances not even involve a public review period for the CEQA document, which is really attractive to developers on that end. On that, you know, there would still be the city process for coming to the Planning Commission to approve the document, but the CEQA end of it would not require its own separate review period.
Okay, thank you. And then I have one follow-up question for staff. Certain elements like the complete streets element, at the completion of a general plan adopting, let's assume, a complete streets policy, what's the timeline and transfer to where it whittles down into, you know, public works and the agencies that are reviewing projects on the day-to-day? Are the two being developed at the same time, or like if we have a complete street element that changes kind of the standards of how we do streetscape in the city of Bakersfield, does that, when the general plan is approved, that is now standard and we apply those, or is there an implementation period after the completion of the general plan?
It's generally, as soon as you've adopted the general plan, those are the new policies. You can, if you prefer to have a, you know, a process where it could phase in or not, but that'd be all within the general plan. But as soon as you adopt the general plan, those are the new policies. And a lot of times in that interim, because it takes a while to do it, you can, sometimes cities choose to do a moratorium on projects so that you don't get this in between of projects trying to rush to the finish line to get done by the old general plan. But, you know, those are the details that are worked out as we start working on the general plan.
Thank you.
I would also like to note too, with the general plan update, there will be updates to the zoning ordinance so that both documents are consistent.
We'll go back to Ms. Lomas.
Just a quick question, I'm not sure nice save. I only have one hand. Just a quick question. In the 2016 white paper, it said that we had a $1.8 million set aside for this update, and the options for the comprehensive is $650 to $3 million. How much money do we have? Oh, the big guns. Uh-oh.
You're talking money, so we'll have the Development Services Director come forward.
I have to answer this question, huh? Well, currently, the city has impact fees that they collect over time, and just for the sole purpose of updating a general plan. So our consultant, in a more generic perspective, may be looking, as an example, might see a city that doesn't have the benefit of an impact fee specific to doing advanced planning. Bakersfield does have an impact fee that's consistent to doing advanced planning, and so currently we're just shy of 2 million, the 2016 papers being about 1.8. I might add, at this point in juncture, I'm working on a grant that would provide an additional $750,000 that we probably would expend on advanced work, like a climate action plan, or working on a complete streets component to plug into a circulation element, or a vehicle miles traveled component to also incorporate into the circulation element. So that some of the parts of the machine that we don't currently have completed would allow for them to be inserted, just like Legos, into the building blocks. So that's my vision for expending that $750,000, and be submitting that grant shortly to do just those kinds of things.
Well, I have you here. In the 2016 paper, it said that within 2 years we'd be at 2 million, and we're not quite at 2 million after 4 years.
No, the last number I heard was right up against it, but not quite there. But
Just wondering.
I could give you that exact number.
Just wondering. So I guess we'll hope you do a really good job writing that grant.
Well, I'm sure there's no doubt, right?
No doubt. No doubt. Thank you.
So, and really, this grant is really designed to, because the performance standards are really envisioned to those monies need to be expended before the general plan is completed. That's why we're looking at some of these things that we're shy on right now to complete out and in front of the general plan effort itself, so that we can make our benchmarks and satisfy the performance standards of the grant early on. Because I would envision that the general plan effort will take a good 3 years, and that first year will really be focused on visioning, on stakeholders, building a sense of community and understanding of what the city's as a community, its vision for the city out 20, 25 years from now looks like. So that's not something you want to step into and complete in just a year's time or so. As Mr. Von Berg noted, we'll take every opportunity to be communicative with our community and trying to really understand and build consensus on what the city wants to be moving forward. I was commenting to Mr. Johnson just this morning that I burn through business cards pretty regularly right now, because if there's anybody who wants to be a component of that consensus building effort, I want them to have that card. So when we do go through the RFP and the consultant selection process, which we should be out there doing that before the end of this calendar year, that anyone who wants to be a participant in the public process has that card, and when we start doing that community outreach, they know who to come to begin to form that stakeholder group along these lines or that lines, whether it's a stakeholder group that wants to focus on parks, or a stakeholder group that wants to focus upon upon streets, complete streets that are alike, or any one of a number of the components that cumulatively will go into the general plan. Because it oftentimes, as we noted in our little workshop, oftentimes we look at a general plan as being a planner's document, but ultimately in the end, just about every major department in the city has a hand in the assembling that general plan. It's a tool for all departments in the city, not just your development services division. Any other questions? Excellent. I'll turn the podium over to Mr. Von Berg again.
Any other
I would just
questions?
add that having a robust community outreach component really saves you time in the end, in that you're getting all that input up front, and so you know what issues are out there, what needs to be addressed, what people want to see in that plan. So then when you get to the end, you're not getting all these 1,000 comments on your CEQA document, which are, I have to answer every one of those. So it can really save time and effort in really making sure the whole community is involved in the process.
Chair Coleman, I'm sorry.
Yes,
If I may, I'd just like to remind you, this is an extension of staff report. So when we're done, if we can go ahead and open it up for public comments also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I was going to get to that. Any more commissioner questions? Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I was reprimanded a minute. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Sorry. Okay. All right. So I was reprimanded about that, that we have opportunity for public comment. So at this time, the public hearing on this item is open. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this, this item? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of this item? If so, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed. We already did the commissioner questions. And we don't need a rebuttal because we had no other comments. We'll now close the public hearing on this item and return it to the commission for comment and action. Is there any action on our part required?
There is. First, I'd like to say that was not a reprimand. I was just speaking with you. I would like to thank Eric for coming down. We really appreciate that, and all his hard work. Approximately 2 weeks ago, staff in Rincon did give this presentation to the Planning and Development Committee. They unanimously directed staff to bring forward the recommendation for a comprehensive update to the general plan. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that your commission adopt a resolution approving a comprehensive update to the Bakersfield General Plan as outlined in the General Plan's Update Strategy and Options Report, and recommend the same to City Council.
All right, is there a commissioner who'd like to make that motion?
I'd like to.
Commissioner Lomas
I'll second that.
and Commissioner Cater. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, you please conduct a roll call vote.
Commissioner Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Rudnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cater,
Yes.
Commissioner Lomas.
Yes.
Motion passes with Commissioner Wade absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we're moving on to item 6A. Mr. Johnson, would you please provide us with your staff report?
Yes, thank you. I'm just going to allow the clerk a moment to bring up the other slide. Thank you. Item 6A is a request for a comprehensive sign plan for the Love's Travel Stop and Country Store. The project site is located at the northeast corner of Taft Highway and South 8th Street intersection and consists of approximately 20.5 acres. The site is currently zoned C2 Regional Commercial. However, at last night's City Council meeting, they considered the first reading to change the zoning to M1, or Light Manufacturing. It has been almost 2 years since your commission considered a comprehensive sign plan, so staff determined it would be appropriate to place this item on the regular agenda to allow for a discussion. The comprehensive sign plan is a program that allows shopping and business centers or other such projects, such as this, to request special consideration of signs that are specifically integrated into the overall architectural style or theme for that project. Because signage can play an important role in the overall site design, in order to set it apart from other similar projects, the program can create an effect both desired and unique that will enhance the overall environment of the development. However, it is not the intent of this section, the comprehensive sign plan, to be used to request relief from the sign regulations in order to circumvent any requirement or purpose of the sign standards. The Love's Travel Stop meets the criteria to qualify for a comprehensive sign plan. The site will consist of multiple uses, including approximately 8 passenger fueling islands, 9 truck fueling islands, 3,600 square feet of fast food restaurant, 11,000 square feet convenience store, 11,000 square foot truck maintenance building, 88 passenger vehicle parking spaces, 11 truck parking spaces. And your commission probably recognizes this plan. The applicant has incorporated your comments from the previous planning commission meeting for additional landscaping to the northeastern portion of the site. The comprehensive sign plan before your commission requests 3 deviations from the sign ordinance. And those are related to an increase area for the wall signs, an increase in sign area and height for directional information signs, and an increase in sign area for a freeway-oriented sign. The ordinance calculates wall signs based on the elevation, whether it is street-facing side or non-street facing side of the building. For non-street facing elevations, the calculation is 1 square foot of business sign for each 1 foot of linear distance, or 125 square feet of sign area, whichever is less. As proposed for the convenience store, the east non-street elevation sign is 200 square feet, and the north non-street elevation totals approximately 286 square feet of sign area, where, in this case, the ordinance allows a cumulative 125 square feet. The applicant is requesting the deviation to accommodate the 200 square foot sign in the shape of the signature Love's Heart logo. The ordinance defines directional signs as on-premise incidental signs designed to guide or direct pedestrian or vehicular traffic. These signs are exempt from the ordinance provisions if they do not exceed 6 feet in height and 6 square feet in area. As proposed, 4 signs directing automobiles and trucks throughout the property will be 8 feet tall and 32 square feet in area, again, where the ordinance allows 6 feet and 6 square feet respectively. The applicant is requesting the deviation, noting that semi-trucks take longer to stop and the driver sits higher above the ground when compared to passenger vehicles. Therefore, the greater height and size of the 4 directional signs is necessary to increase visibility and readability for drivers during the day and night travel. Additionally, the applicant is proposing a certified scale sign that is 21 feet tall and totaling 113.5 square feet in area. The applicant is requesting the deviation to this directional sign, noting it is located on the northern side of the maintenance building and generally will not be seen by the public. This sign is similar to a headache bar hanging over the entrance of a parking garage or drive-through lane, so the deviation is necessary to ensure vertical clearance is achieved to meet the drive load requirements for trucks that travel through the interstate system. The ordinance limits freeway-oriented signs to a height of 75 feet and 350 square feet of sign area. As proposed, the applicant will adhere to the 75-foot height limit, but is requesting a sign area of 1,027 square feet, or 1,027.58 square feet specifically. As justification for the deviation, the applicant provided information from the United States Sign Council, or the USSC, regarding sign legibility as it relates to driver safety and visual communication to drivers traveling at freeway speeds. Additionally, the State of California Business and Professional Code includes unique requirements for the advertisement of fuel prices. Both those items are described in further detail in the staff report and associated attachments. For the purpose of the sign area, the applicant is requesting each business on the premises be looked at independently. For example, the Heart, the Love sign, the Arby's sign, and the Speedco sign. Based on the applicant's request for calculating sign area, each of those 4 signs would not exceed the ordinance's 350 square foot limit. However, cumulatively, it is 3 times larger than the allowance. The applicant also requests the area of the price sign be given additional and special consideration for reasons described in the Business and Professional Code. Staff notes that the fuel price sign is proposed at 370 square foot by itself. Kern Delta Water District was the only comment received regarding the comprehensive sign plan. They were concerned that the freeway-oriented sign may impact their canal right-of-way. The applicant coordinated with Kern Delta, and as demonstrated on this slide, the sign is situated over 6 feet outside Kern Delta's right-of-way. As justification for the comprehensive sign plan, the applicant states the requested deviations from the sign ordinance are necessary to accommodate the safety of users of the travel stop, mainly semi-truck drivers and passenger vehicles, both in the driver's approach of the development and with internal circulation within the travel stop. Additionally, the signs have been designed to be compatible with the United States Sign Council recommendations, state requirements for price signage, and the city's ordinance requirements when possible. In order to approve a comprehensive sign plan, your commission must find that the sign plan as a whole is in conformity with the purpose of the Bakersfield Municipal Code, and such exceptions or deviations are for the general welfare, resulting in an improved relationship among the various signs, building facades, and overall project covered by the plan. Overall, staff recommends approval of a comprehensive sign plan for the Love's Travel Stop and Country Store. Staff is available for questions, as is the applicant who is in the audience with their team. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Johnson. So I'm going to do this in the right order this time, and we will go to the public hearing on this item is open. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the project? If so, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed.
Good evening. My name is Kim Van Dyke, and I reside in Midway, Utah. Work for Love's Travel Stops Country Stores in the western states, and I was here 4 weeks ago. I would just like to say my support in the signage is for the reasons that they outlined that we worked with staff on, and I hope that you also will see it that way and approve what they're recommending. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this project? Okay, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the project? Please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed. Seeing no one, does any commissioner have any questions for the public on this item? Remember, this is not the time to express any opinions on the matter. It is only time to ask questions. Commissioner Rudnick.
I have a question for staff. This sign seems very large, and I'm not against the sign, but I want to understand how it compares to other existing truck stops and their signage. Is it similar, larger, you know, to what are the things we've approved?
I will note that this slide that you see here is a comparison to another Love's sign in Tulare, California. Again, this would not have been staff's approval. That sign is 120 feet tall, 972 square feet. And again, our sign that the applicant is proposing is 75 feet tall, 1,020 square feet. This would be the largest sign that the city has approved if your commission approves this.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, and I should say this would be along Highway 99. The largest sign I believe we've approved is approximately 450 square feet.
So this is double the size that we normally approve. Am I saying that right?
We do not get a lot of requests for freeway-oriented signs, but that would be correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, well, that puts it in perspective. Thank you.
Commissioner Cater.
Can I just clarify with staff, because this, this combining of different uses in a single sign, I'm thinking of the Walmart Center that has a Lowe's, a Walmart, and a few other signs in the same kind of monument configuration. Is that, and then the Valley Plaza sign is also kind of a similar nature. Are those signs reaching that square footage? I mean, those are all not new signs, but.
The Valley Plaza sign, that is 75 foot tall, 350 square feet, so the Valley Plaza
cumulative.
sign meets the freeway standards.
Okay, and that's cumulative 350?
Yes, and that's just to put it in perspective. The Furniture City sign, which is on the other side of Valley Plaza to the north,
Yes.
75 feet tall, 140 square feet. The Boulevard is another large one, and again, that was, I guess, you're gonna have to excuse me, that was 410 square feet, and that one's only 52 feet tall.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions? Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to provide a rebuttal on this item? If so, please be prepared to step to the podium. Each side will only have 5 minutes to make your comments. So make your comments succinctly without repeating the remarks of previous speakers to ensure that everyone wishing to provide rebuttal comment has a chance to do so. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on this item and return it to the commission for comment and action. Any commissioners would like to comment? Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner Cater was first. Okay, all right. So Commissioner Rudnick.
First of all, I think it's a very aesthetic sign that you guys have developed as far as the stucco and the stone, and it's a very aesthetic sign. My only concern is the size of it. I mean, it's literally over twice the size of other signs in our community, and some of them are freeway oriented. It's big. It's real big. I would like to see it smaller. I guess that's my input at this point. So that's what I got to say.
Commissioner Bell?
Yeah, to be frank, have no problem with this at all, especially considering all the roads acts and things that we're doing. And I can recall last year talking about I guess it's been maybe 18 months now, when we were looking at East Hills and how many 75-foot signs, and here we're a very short amount of lanes, and we were approving all over the place. So on 99, I think it's, actually think it's more than appropriate. We want to celebrate this. If we're going to have a truck stop there, and we need it, that is exactly the location, in my opinion, that that facility needs to be. I've heard over and over from trucking firms how needed this is in our community. It's clear on the outskirts of our city limits. I like everything about it. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. Commissioner Lomas, did you have something you wanted to contribute?
I'm glad that it's not the Tulare sign. I like it very much, and I'd be more than happy to make the motion if everyone is ready to go home.
Commissioner Cater wanted to speak on the item.
Oh, then.
I would just add, I agree, the Bakersfield sign is preferred to the Tulare sign. McDonald's and Love's are kind of fighting in Tulare, it looks like. No, but I would just say that I think thinking about this site not being directly freeway adjacent, and also thinking about, 4 75-foot signs running along Taft Highway with an Arby's, with a Speedco, with a Love's, with the gas price. I actually appreciate the composition of something that's very composed in a single moment, rather than this kind of marching of signs eastward. So I think, it is much, much larger than our typical sign. So I do think that that discretionary review process is appreciated, but I think I would cheer Commissioner Lomas on if she wants to make the motion to adopt staff's recommendation.
And consider the motion made.
The Commissioner Lomas made the motion. May I have a second, please?
I will second. Thank you.
Sorry, who's that, Mr. Bell? Commissioner Bell, second. Madam Clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Rudnick,
No?
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cater,
Yes.
Commissioner Lomas.
Yes.
Motion passes with Commissioner Rudnick against and Commissioner Wade absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We can move on now to communications. Director Johnson, do you have any communications?
Yes, thank you. We will have a meeting on August 6th. I would like to note that staff is working to have more workshop items in front of your commission, and these items will be, with some of the ordinance changes that are pending, we're going to have workshops on like conditional use permits and what it takes to approve or deny a conditional use permit, the findings for that. We'll have other various processes that we're going to bring forward. Obviously, you're going to see more and more general plan update workshops. But on the August 6th, right now, we're tentatively scheduled to have a presentation on the TRIP program, Thomas Road Improvement Program. I believe there's a new flyby that they have prepared. It's supposed to be pretty impressive. Thank you.
Okay, are there any commissioner comments? Seeing none, I have one question for Director Johnson. We approved tonight, we approved an amendment to the municipal code which disbands the BZA. Assuming a council approval of that, when will this commission start seeing some of those conditional use permit applications?
That is a good question. So ordinance amendment like that, it is first reading is scheduled for September with City Council. Or excuse me, that'll be August 12th for City Council. Second reading, we're looking at September 23rd with City Council. which therefore would take effect 30 days later, October 23rd. This way is probably the least impactful to applicants who do submit conditional use permits, that there's not an overlap between whether or not we can get to BZA or Planning Commission. So therefore, I would say probably November 5th at the earliest, all conditional use permits should be coming through your commission.
Okay, thank you. Do any other commissioners have any comments? All right, I think that moves us to adjournment. Now I'll say the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.